Welcome everybody to another edition of WCW 2004 here in TEW 2020, as it's time for the go-home week before WCW Starrcade 2004, our biggest show of the year, and hopefully our biggest show of all time, though I've had some other great shows that have been hard to beat. But regardless, it's time for Nitro, live from beautiful Atlantic City, New Jersey, in front of a little over 18,000 people, as we have the announcers put over a huge main event tonight of Sean O'Hare and Bill Goldberg teaming up to take on Monty Brown and Chuck Palumbo. But first, we have a scramble involving tag teams to determine the order of the tag team gauntlet at Starrcade. And that little graphic gets a 68 as we go to the ring. This is just a wild match, and the actual order of elimination you see is not actual, but basically I'm going to explain how the match goes. So basically, back just a complete chaos right from the start, as you expect from eight guys all in the ring. But after a couple minutes, basically what happens is there's a dive train. Everybody ends up on the outside, brawling. But Evans and Romeo Lavernius are the last two. And basically Romeo's taken out and Evans looks like he's going to get back in. But Romeo basically grabs his leg, so they're both counted out and they're both eliminated, which means they'll be number 1 and number 2 to start off the tag team gauntlet. Back in the ring, again, lots of fun stuff going on. Jindrak hits some power moves. Noble trying to hit some shots, but Reno hits a big power bomb on Lance Storm and gets the pinfall victory to eliminate him, which means Storm and Austin will be the number 3 team in the gauntlet. Then some more back and forth wrestling. Eventually, Jindrak goes for a power move on Alex Wright. Alex Wright slips under, hits a double arm DDT, and gets the pinfall victory to eliminate Jindrak. So it'll be Jindrak and Simply Johnny Devine as the 4th team in the gauntlet. And then basically, as Wright is getting up, Noble chop blocks him, locks him in submission, which he fights out of, but Alex Wright is then very weak, and then Noble goes for a brainbuster. Wright goes for a German suplex, but his shoulders actually fall down with it, and Wright and Noble's able to kick out, but Wright can't because he's hurt, and so Wright is eliminated despite the one hitting the German suplex. And so after that, it's 3 heels all facing each other, and the match ends pretty quickly after that, as basically Harris and Noble team up to pin Reno, and then Noble then screws over Harris, but Harris actually fights back a little bit, getting some face pops because, hey, you gotta back up somebody in the match. But eventually, Noble ties him up, hits a couple big suplexes, and then locks him in the trailer hitch in the middle of the ring, and with nowhere to go, locked in the guillotine, Harris has to tap out, so Noble and Emily will be the team that gets the last shot in the gauntlet. Remember, the winner of the tag team gauntlet become the number 1 contender to the tag titles, whoever holds them. This was a really fun match. Just 8-man, just wildness. This gets a 79 overall. James Storm gets a 71. Lance Storm gets an 81. Jack Evans gets an 87. Reno gets a 72. Alex Wright gets a 74. Jamie Noble gets an 80. Mark Jindrak gets a 74. And Romeo gets a 42. And post-match, Emily Sable and Jamie Noble celebrate to a 74 as the crowd boos as the announcers put over. This is a huge victory, at least for Jamie Noble and Emily Sable, as they're in the catbird seat for the tag team gauntlet. Then we go backstage where Bischoff is in his office, and he makes the official announcement that after some negotiating with Teddy Long, we come to the conclusion that some divisions have to be exclusive to each show in order for them to work, since for some divisions it might lead to people being on shows only with the other couple of people in that division. So as a result, he is happy to announce that the division that's been core to Nitro since its very first show, the Cruiserweight division, will be exclusive to Nitro, including the Cruiserweight Championship. So yeah, that's one part of the split, is now all the Cruiserweight division will be only on Nitro, as this gets a 79. And he says Teddy Long will have an announcement on Revolution for what division will be exclusive on his end. And you can probably guess it, but hey, you just gotta wait a couple minutes to see what that is. And then coming out of commercial, we have all of a sudden, Morningstar and Messias' music hits, but out comes Morningstar basically dragging Arn Anderson out to the ring. And Arn's fighting back, but he's still Arn, but he's also an older Arn. And Morningstar takes the mic and says, Flair, Sting, you thought you could disrupt the message. You thought you could deny the message. You thought you could cause chaos and invade the space of Deadpool. But that was simply not going to be allowed to happen. So now, you're ally. So now, those who you know will have to pay a price. And Sting and Flair basically will come out after a couple minutes as Flair says, "Brother, you're walking down a dangerous road right now. Arn's a horseman and will be a horseman always. So you just let go of him." And Arn's like yelling various things at Morningstar this whole time, you know. And Sting as in, "Look, your fight is with us, not Anderson, not anybody else in the back." And Morningstar fires back, "You've walked down the dangerous road, and now your allies must pay the price. But honestly, not even just your allies." And then the big screen pops up as Sting and Flair look over, and we're at a darkened boardwalk in Atlantic City by the water, and Macias is dragging a body that, as we zoom in, is David Flair. Flair starts screaming, just like, and actually just gets beat after a second or two, as Morningstar says, "You can try to stop him if you wish, but this is what happens when you think your typical actions will hurt us. The message will always win." So then we follow Sting and Flair basically running out, getting into a car, and trying to get to the boardwalk before Macias is going to do what Macias is going to do to Ric Flair's son. So this gets an 82. Fun stuff. Let's see here. Sort of better announcing. Arn Anderson was under Rome, so I probably just should have not rated R, but yeah, what can you do? But yeah, not the end of the world. Nothing too stupid, silly. And then as we come back from that little segment, Minoru Fujita makes his WCW enter the ring, as this gets a 24. I guess because I didn't change this gimmick because it's actually good. And now in the final Cruiserweight, Ignition Cruiserweight qualifier, in Velvet Turbo Wrestling and Austin Crowdy, Jerry Lynn defeats Fujita in 625 by pinfall. Just your solid high spot match. Fujita hits a few kicks in, a few flying moves, but Lynn eventually takes over, hits the cradle pile driver after a couple minutes, and becomes the next man to qualify for the Ignition Cruiserweight match, as this gets a 46. Lynn gets a 53. Fujita gets a 30, as this is basically his debut, but a solid little Cruiserweight match here on the undercard, as Lynn gets the win. And then Lynn celebrates to a 47. So forward, we go backstage, where Stevie Ray is backstage when the Chosen Few are confronting him, and they're basically asking, "Look, Stevie Ray, I know you're smarter than your brother, so just let us know where he is so we can take care of our business and move on, because he's obviously doesn't understand how great it would be to be a member of the Chosen Few. So let's just tell us where he is." And Stevie's like, "I'm not his keeper, but I know he can kick all your fruity beaties from one end of the ring to the other. So if you want to go find him, but I'm not helping you." And Jarrett looks over to Ginger Act, there's going to be a beatdown, but Booker comes basically out of nowhere and throws Divine into, over the catering table, and is about to fight with Jarrett and Jindrak when officials break them up. And after a moment, Booker says, "Seka, meet me in that ring at Starrcade. I don't care who the fans back, I want your ass." And Jarrett simply, nods because we got one more match for Starrcade. Yeah, this is going to be heel versus heel, but that's sort of the fun. Because, I'm not turning Booker heel. He's still Booker. He's still conceited. He's thinking he's best wrestler in the world right now. Jarrett's being an asshole to him. So then this gets a 73 because I rated Stevie Ray and the other folks. But, I just want to see what happened here. Nothing too terrible, but still, leading forward. And then we have a quick O'Hare and Goldberg basically promo where O'Hare says, "Palumbo, you can say whatever you want. You can claim whatever you want. But in a few days at Starrcade, everybody is going to realize that I was always correct. I'm the future shock of professional wrestling. And now you're just a guy obsessed with trying to get what he can't have. So do your best, but at the end, Raven Rain is going to end up being made a widow." Goldberg says, "Monty Brown, tonight's just a preview at Starrcade that you're next." So just simple, straightforward promo for both guys, as it gets an 82. As again, this is really tops it could do, because this was a 4-minute promo, so nothing too fancy here. This is wrong. Hold on. I hope I didn't skip past something. Hold on a second. And oh well, I'll just figure it out in a moment here. Anyway, so we have a sort of a quick preview of the women's tag match here. As about that good heat, these wrestling, Tricia Skye and Gail Kim get the big win as they defeat Joanie Laurer and Amber O'Neil. In 7:41, when Gail Kim pins Amber O'Neil to eat defeat. So basically what happens here is Joanie, is actually pretty dominant herself, but Tricia and Gail Kim get their shots in, but eventually Tricia actually gets a few big moves in a row and actually gets Joanie out to the outside where they start the fight, but Joanie throws Tricia over the announcer's table into sort of the ringside area and goes after her, but they aren't the legal women. And in the ring, Gail Kim gets the advantage over Amber O'Neil, is able to heat defeat and get the big pinfall victory. As this gets a 70, so unfortunately, like what I knew before, Tricia and Gail Kim have no chemistry as partners. So Gail Kim only gets a 49, Tricia only gets a 60, so obviously they'll be better. Amber O'Neil gets a 52, and Joanie Laurer gets a 94. So yes, pretty straightforward stuff here. What's the word I'm looking for? Just a little fun preview of the big women's title match with Gail Kim getting a big win, even though it isn't over Joanie Laurer. It's still a win here as she heads into the triple threat match at Starrcade. But what happens next is a little more interesting, as basically what happens here is Gail and Tricia head to the back with Gail making title motions, but Tricia sort of talking back to her, and eventually some push me before they both agree to leave. And Joanie eventually gets back to the ringside area, and Amber O'Neil is heading to the back herself when Joanie grabs her, kicks her in the gut, picks her up, and boom, powerbomb off the stage onto a bunch of equipment below. Big pop, and Joanie gets to look like a monster again, as just 6 days before she gets in the ring versus Tricia Skye and Gail Kim at Starrcade. So Amber O'Neil takes a stump bump during this angle. This gets an 82 overall. Really good stuff. And this was sort of writing off Amber O'Neil because she signed a contract with WWE at the end of her contract. So she's off to them in the new year. So goodbye, Amber. Have fun being in lingerie matches. And then we have a quick backstage promo with Monty Brown and Chuck Palumbo. As Monty, Monty says, 6 days. 6 days until Bill Goldberg, everybody realizes I'm the real man at WCW. When I pounce you on one side of this build, one side of Philadelphia to the other. And Lilo adds in, O'Hare, you were never the future. I was always the future. But you didn't allow me to go past you. But Raven right here, let me know the truth. And in a couple days, everyone will find out the same truth that I do. That I was always the man. And once I'm done with you, I will become the world champion. So again, 81, perfectly straightforward promos to build things up. And then we see Shane Helms, a VTR type of thing, as we're in what we see is just sort of an industrial area at first. As he says, the terrible thing about being world champion is you have to do all the promotion, and so some of it involves going to places you absolutely despise. Like Philadelphia. A terrible city full of terrible people, terrible sports teams, and a bunch of disgusting wrestling fans who think they're special because a shyster set up a promotion there years ago. Now here's the thing. Helms would probably get a mixed pop this one because of course New Jersey hates Philly, so of course the only place to be worse than Philly right now is New Jersey. So I'm happy I'm not there at my turn. Boo. Of course, but a disgusting thing about what's happening here. That's, quite frankly, an insult to the greatest United States champion of all time and your current world champion, Shane Helms. Is this. As Karen hands up, and he says, you see this building? This is the ECW arena, and it's where the last revolution before Starrcade will be held. It's some sort of special thing to really put over how big of an event Starrcade is. But here's reality. It's sad that this disgusting bingo will be last stop before Starrcade. For the first time, it's mutants, weirdos, and slovenly fans will actually see talent professional wrestlers who actually get paid. And at Revolution, all those with nostalgia for Extreme will get a special treat from yours truly. See, RVD, you may think of Starrcade as a homecoming sort. Revolution is going to be one last reminder there's going to be the end of the line for any hope of you becoming world champion as long as I have this belt. So, one sort of little last sell job for Starrcade as Helms is already in Philadelphia as this gets a 92. And then we have a 8-man tag preview of a bunch of various matches at Starrcade, as the announcers also put over that that at Starrcade it'll be the 3-man team of Ray LePen, Tank Toland, and Keenan Sharp teaming up to face off Sandman, Brother Ray, and a partner of their choosing in a 6-man street fight. So, but anyway, this is just a preview involving Toro, Ray Jr., those men, Agro, and AJ Styles, and it's just like a bunch of chaos, stop, bots, preview stuff. And in the end, Keenan Sharp comes down, whacks Rey Mysterio Jr. from B. Basically, Keenan Sharp comes in as things break down to a complete just 8-man brawl, get involved, nails Ray Jr. from behind. That allows Toro able to hit, basically roll Ray Jr. up and get the pinfall victory 6 days before they face off the US title at Starrcade. But overall, just a bunch of fun stuff. AJ gets an 84, Eddie gets an 91. I'm sure they had like a quick little 3 or 4 minute series where they actually wrestled and did some big spots. I imagine Eddie trying to brainbuster, but AJ getting out of it and then them facing off. Brother Ray gets a 74, Sandman gets a 55, Ray LePen gets a 54, Tank Toland gets a 59. Ray Mysterio gets an 87 because he's Ray fucking Mysterio, and Jonathan Dorr gets a 72. So fun match. This gets a 78. A bunch of guys was held back by the chaotic nature of the match. Come on, Brother Ray. You were part of Dudley's matches in ECW. That was not chaos. But still, fun stuff, and just like a little preview tag just to put over the big matches at Starrcade, as that would basically be what the announcers would be put over, is the big matches that are being set up, not the actual show as much. And then post-match, the heels all celebrate to a 71 as the push for the actual card continues. And then we have a quick Elite Skipper promo who gets in 45 here, as he says, "Throw as many men as you want in this match, it doesn't matter. I held this belt for over half a year for one reason. That's because I'm that damn good and the best cruiserweight in this business today. Starrcade will just one more opportunity to show why I'm prime time and everybody else may as well be not even up." 45, decent little promo. Again, I sort of been disappointed because I haven't really had time to push Skipper the same way I wanted to, and the Cruiserweight division has sort of been hollowed out by people moving up. But hey, he's had the long Cruiserweight title reign, so hopefully he can do some fun stuff in 2005. And then we have the woman coming in to talk to Bischoff, and he says, well, everything isn't changed in the year. So basically, they asked for a match against the Captivation, and Bischoff says, that's interesting, but it's not quite Starrcade worthy. So how about this? It'll be a 6-woman tag, like you want, but it'll be an elimination match, and whichever women remain standing become the number 1 contenders to the women's title. They all agree, and now we have one more match for Starrcade. Actually, we have a couple matches for Starrcade, but I'm not going to add the basically hardcore versus young guys match because there's a surprise partner. We got Natty Neidhart, Jordan Cole, and Celine Cartier versus Lexi James, Angel Fox, Lizzie Dumas. That, and there we go. As it gets to 57, it's just a quick little promo to set up the match as we move forward. And then, this is some fun stuff. So, we cut back to the boardwalk where Sting and Flair have arrived. David Flair is trying to get away from Macias, but he just sort of grabs him and throws him around the boardwalk. And Flair and Sting finally get to the edge of the boardwalk, and Flair and Sting try to talk Macias down. And Macias just stares at them, and then boom, throws Flair into the drink. Into the ocean he goes. And then we see Flair actually strip down, dive in after his son, and Sting begin to fight with Macias. And they go into some whatever's on this end of this boardwalk, a shop, a bathroom, whatever. And then after a couple minutes of them fighting, Flair actually drags his son out there's a cut, because obviously this was taped before. He's okay, and Flair actually goes to fight with Macias, and then we see a bunch of cop cars pull up to break everybody up as the announcers put over the things have the things have exploded here between these two tag teams just a couple days before the face-off at Starrcade for the tag titles. So that gets a 93, and yeah, this is my one like really wacky angle to use between these two teams before the pay-per-view. So yeah, this gets a 93, fun stuff. And then we actually have our main event, which I am not shocked it only got an 84, because even though these guys are really over, I mean, it's Shawn Hair, Bill Goldberg, Monty Brown, and Chuck Palumbo a match. They're not exactly what you call ring generals. So I imagine, like, yeah, well, not a selling show. Again, these four guys, I'm shocked. I imagine this is just like them, like going for their big moves, getting it blocked, tagging back in, and eventually things just sort of break apart into a double countout. Like, Goldberg going after Monty Brown and then like spearing each other into the ringside area. Palumbo going after O'Hare, and things just falling apart, and the referee throwing things out near the end. As Goldberg gets a 94, O'Hare gets an 84, Palumbo gets an 89, Monty Brown gets an 85. So yeah, like this got like 4, 1, 6, 16, 4. Yeah, so it was probably like a high 80s without the dings for lack of psychology and not selling. What can you do? So again, still a fun little main event to really put over these two big matches at the pay-per-view. And afterwards, they just continue to fight until the show closes. As we see, like, basically Goldberg actually hitting a big spear on Monty at the top of the ring apron, where Palumbo and O'Hare fight into the sort of backstage catering area as referees and officials try to break them apart, but they keep on going after each other as the show ends. And overall, this show gets us an 87. So fun stuff a couple days before Starrcade. See if there's any interesting mail, and then we'll go from there. Survey says, alrighty, let's see here. Nothing of note. So yeah, I'm not going to show Nitro only because W had their pay-per-view last night, so I'll just go for the whole thing after Revolution to see what they did in a couple weeks. So see you in just a moment for, yes, Revolution live from the ECW Arena in beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a few days before Starrcade. I'll be back with that in just a moment. Welcome everybody to WCW Revolution live from, and welcome back to Revolution. We're live from a sold out, of course, ECW Arena in beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a few days before Starrcade, and the show starts out with Shane Helms coming out to a massive heel response from the crowd here in Philadelphia, and he continues the same heel shtick he was doing last time. Talking about how disgusting and sad this whole crowd is, and it's absolutely pathetic that he has to even walk into this arena and be in front of a bunch of loser fans like you who helped Rob Van Dam believe he's actually one of the best wrestlers in the world, when he's nothing but a man high on his own supply. And what Starrcade in just a few days in Missouri City, it is going to end up on a nightmare on Helm Street. And there's nothing you can do about it, because he is a world champ for a reason, because it means he's the best damn wrestler on the planet, not some guy who a bunch of mutants in Philadelphia loved. Q RVD could come out to a big pop, as he basically calls out Helms and say, look, we can fight right now. We can do this in the middle of the ring, in the Viking Hall, in front of the so-called Big Hall that I became a star, where I became Mr. Monday Night, where I became Mr. Pay-Per-View, where I became the whole bleeping show. Only he says fucking, but it gets bleeped out. And Helms is ready to fight when out of nowhere, somebody comes up and attacks Van Dam from behind. And he, after the fans respond, the massive heel response, as it's Steve Corino, old school himself, returning to the ground where he first made his national debut, and he's attacking Rob Van Dam, and it seems that we have a match. So yeah, Corino comes in, He's a freelancer, so I don't know how much he'll actually be on the show in real life or not. I'll have to figure that out on his contract. But he was like the one ECW heel who's vaguely over. Makes sense to like align with Helms at least for just one more night, and would be a fun little match. So they start fighting as Helms slips out to the outside as the crowd goes wild, says it gets an 89. But yeah, it goes a couple of minutes. Eventually, Van Dam gets his fire back. Starts fighting with Carino, goes over the top rope, hits a big dive, brawling all over against the ringside, by the ringside fans. Eventually goes up top. RVD hits the Rolling Thunder, and he gets a chair as well to hit the Van Damator. When Shane Helms comes in and just super kicks him right in the teeth, ref immediately calls for the bell, and it's a DQ, and the beatdown is on. So this gets 70. It goes 5 minutes because, well, let's look at this. As this gets RVD gets an 88, Reno gets a 58, and it gets 70 overall. But then it's a 2-on-1 beatdown when all of a sudden Desperado hits, and for the first time in months, Terry Funk returns to WCW ring in ECW. As this gets a 66, because, Terry Funk, he's really getting old at this point, but he can still go a little bit, and he runs in for a brawl, and it seems now we have this match has turned from a singles match into a tag match as the ref rings the bell again. Okay, it's ECW, why not? Or at least ECW tribute night, at least, as we head towards Starrcade. Gets a 66 because Funk is Funk, but everybody else did well. And then we go to the actual match, which, as you expect, doesn't do much. It just descends into chaos after a couple of minutes as everybody just starts fighting RVD and Funk. But eventually, it looks like RVD and Funk have the advantage. So Helms just gets thrown into the ring, and then he heads to the back, leaving Carino out on his own. As this gets a 63, Funk gets a 38 because he's old. Van Dam gets an 87, Helms gets a 79, Carino gets a 56, and then post match with Carino stuck all on his own. Pile driver, 5-star. Carino's laid completely out as the fans pop, and Funk and Van Dam stand together as Van Dam points at himself as the crowd chants RVD, and we got a hot little start to Revolution here in the ECW arena. Note, the announcers will all call it Viking Hall for copyright reasons, but we know what it is. And then we come back to commercial, and out comes first Beulah McKillicuddy to a big pop from the crowd. A decent pop, because again, probably actual WCW fans in here, coming to the ECW arena, and she says, she talks a bit about all the great stuff that's happened here, and then out comes Kimono Wanalea to another pop, as she begins talking about all the stuff she did, including night she danced atop the ECW arena, and they start arguing, and all of a sudden, we have a big old fight in the middle of the ring, as Jerry Lawler screams cat fight, because Joey Styles isn't there to scream it, but of course Jerry Lawler would scream that. After a couple minutes of that happening, and of course I'm rolling around doing the stuff that happens during a cat fight, when Joey Lawler comes out and just destroys them both. She just picks them up, powerbomb to Beulah, who can take the bump, throws Kimona through the ropes, who can hopefully take the bump, and then she takes the mic and says, "That pathetic showing was what all you fans think was women's wrestling for years, and what you thought about women in this business. But I'm the next evolution in women's wrestling." And of course, I'm sure there's lots of not great chants coming from the crowd at this point about Joanie, because, well, yeah, it's 2004 and ECW-ish crowd. What can you do? Regardless, Joanie, lets it all happen for a minute, says, "That's why, at Starrcade, I will destroy 2 women just like the 2 women I just took out. Yeah, they act like they're better wrestlers, but in the end, they're bimbos and models, just like the rest, and they will be destroyed like the rest. And I will still be the World Women's Champion." As this gets an 83, finally fully continuing to put over the big women's world title match at Starrcade. And then we have a cruiser scramble match, determine the last competitor in the Ignition Cruiserweight match, as this was just a high spot match involving Dean Malenko, Matt Sydal, Rick Roberts, Yang, Shadowmore, and Fujita, all people who were involved in the Cruiserweight qualifiers, except for Blitzkrieg, who left the promotion already. And this is just a wacky high spot match. Everybody, Sydal gets a big spot, Reckless takes some people down, there's a quit Malenko, Reckless actual wrestling spot, Fujita hits some kicks, more to some dives of his own. But in the end, what happens is, out of nowhere, Kaz comes in. Yeah, I forgot I must have did it wrong in the book deals. Regardless, who cares? Kaz comes in and actually kicks Malenko right in the back of the head, allowing Yang to hit the Yang time and get the pinfall victory and advance into the Ignition tournament. So this gets a 46, Malenko gets a 53, Sato gets a 30, Regardless Roberts gets a 54, Yang gets a 47, Shane Helms gets a 38, Luigi gets a 34, as Yang is the last man, and he celebrates to a 35. Again, fun little cruiser match to get, and this crowd probably popped for it. And then backstage, Jordan Cole is backstage, went out of nowhere. Captivation just attack her. Like, there's a mirror she set up, and they actually throw her through the mirror. As then she's just been stomping the hell out of her until W officials break it up. As an Angel Fox says, "You're gone, Cole. We're never going to see you again if you know what's good for you. Because we are captivating and we run this company." They walk away. This gets a 54, and it seems like Jordan Cole may be out of Starrcade. So this gets a 54 from the angle, setting up, because again, spoilers, Jordan Cole also signed with the WWF, so she's not going to be on Starrcade. I mean, she could have been, but what's the point of putting somebody who is going to WWF on my pay-per-view? So that'll be determined by change in the matches, which you guys will see at Starrcade, but there you go. And then we have a fun little Pulp Fiction style promos for the tribute match. So first we have Eddie Guerrero saying, "Years and years, I came to ECW and I put it on the map. I came back to ECW and became world champion. And at Starrcade, AJ Styles, you're going to see why I'm a legend and you're just a kid." Guerrero says, "After I beat Rey Mysterio Jr. at Starrcade, Viking Hall will just be another part of the Roman Empire as the Vikings were." AJ says, "I'll be honest, I didn't see much ECW because it was late at night and sometimes wasn't even on TV in my ear. But I know all the great wrestlers were there. Eddie, you're part of them. But at Starrcade, I'm going to prove myself and kick your ass." Billy Ray says, "I caused a lot of violence. I've caused a chaos. I've pissed off a lot of people in this arena." And at Starrcade, that's going to continue when I take out 3 punks who think they're special. Kenny Sharp says, "The path is in front of everybody in this arena if they only wish to follow it. Of course, since you're here, it is unlikely. But only when you walk the path can you move beyond your current disgusting state of being." And then we see Kanyon. "Nobody for the Kanyon. And KIdman, bring in the storm, bring in awesome. They'll fall to the dime. To the Kanyon cutter." KIdman says, "I got my man who was king of this extreme for years around here. And I'll be backing me up tonight, but remember, I got this called shot for reasons because I'm the best in the business." So a fun little promo segment here, and you can the Pulp Fiction song is going behind the whole time because hell, WWE can TBS can pay for it. As this gets a 90, and then we have a tag match as a preview of the tag gauntlet. As in a good match, Chavo Guerrero Jr. and Teddy Hart defeat James Storm and cash in 10-12, and Chavo Guerrero and Storm. Just back and forth match, as all 4 of these men are in teams, part of the gauntlet. And at the end, everybody hits their spots in. Storm hits the second ride, Cash does his bully weight stuff, Chavo is able to, do some luchador stuff, Teddy flies around. By the end, Chavo gets a pinfall victory over James Storm and a big victory for Chavo and Alex, right a couple days before Starrcade, as this gets a 78 overall. Teddy Hart gets a 76, Chavo gets a 79, Cash gets an 82, and James Storm gets a 76. And then everybody involved in the match comes out, and it's a big old brawl as the announcers put over the big tag team gauntlet, where the winners will become the new number one contenders for the tag titles, as this gets a 68. And then Jeff Jarrett comes down to the ring to just a tremendous heel response because it's Jeff Jarrett in the ECW arena. Says, "For years and years, slapnuts all over this country have been talking about how great this building is, how special, how historic it is. When frankly, it's a damn dump. Boo." And let me tell you, I've wrestled in a lot of dumps early on in my career. All over the South, all over Tennessee, little buildings that were falling apart, but all of them was friggin' Madison Square Garden compared to this place. Boo. But I'm not here to talk about how terrible this building is, and how the bathrooms don't work, and there's no heat, and it's a piece of trash place. The Slapnuts, I got no word. That's Booker. Booker, I don't like you. You don't like me. I'm gonna give you one more chance to accept your place as part of the chosen few, because I do have respect for you, even though I don't like you. And then out of the crowd, jumping over the barrier, slips in, and Booker slides in and starts brawling with Jeff Jarrett, and they start brawling over the ringside area, up to the crowd, up to the crow's nest area before WWE officials finally break them apart, as it looks like Jarrett might be taking a ride over the top. As this gets a 90 and continues to build up their match at Starrcade. And then we have our 5-on-5 ECW tribute match, basically involving all the kind of ECW connected people and their sort of their what's we're looking for, and their sort of like feud partners. As in a super match, Kanyon, AJ Styles, Rey Mysterio Jr., Tajiri, and Brother Ray defeats Mike Awesome, Keenan Sharp, Billy Kidman, Eddie Guerrero, and Jonathan Toro in 2012 when Kanyon pins Kidman with the flatliner. So everybody sort of hits their spots here. Like Sharp tries to slap on submissions on people. AJ goes for the Styles Clash with the back. Rey Mysterio Jr. flies all over. Sheer hit people with kicks. Some missed. Brother Ray tries to put Mike Awesome through a powerbomb, but he fights out of it. Kidman tries to sneak in and get some quick pins, but he goes out, and eventually things break down. Like Eddie hits the Blue Thunder bomb, and then goes for the Brainbuster on Ray Jr. Ray Jr. gets out, and then from there things break down to a wild 10-way brawl, and things are just going wild. But in the end, Kidman turns around right into a flatliner from Kanyon, and 1, 2, 3, he pins the holder of the called shot. As it gets a 91, Jonathan Toro gets a 72, Eddie Guerrero gets a 92, Billy Kidman gets an 84, Keenan Sharp gets a 79, Mike Awesome gets an 85, Brother Ray gets an 80, Sheer gets an 80, Ray Jr. gets a 90, AJ Styles gets a 92, and Kanyon gets a 93. And then we have a quick, well, not a quick, but Kanyon takes the mic after like everything goes outside and says, Kidman, we already have a match, but one more thing from you. And Kidman's like, what the hell do you want? How can I get rid of you? And he's like, at Starrcade, I want you to put up what should be mine. Because nobody's better than Kanyon. I want you to put up that called shot contract. And Kidman's like, why should I do that? Because I just pinned your ass. And deep down, you know, even if you manage to walk out of Starrcade a winner, if you don't put out that contract, everybody will think you really don't deserve it. And you don't want that in the back of your head when you're about to call your shot and try to win the title. You don't want to be thinking about me, Kanyon. You don't want to be thinking about me, Kidman. You want to be thinking about the world champion, whoever it is. Kidman's like, fine. I'll beat your ass at Starrcade one more time and finally prove to everybody you're not on my level. So 85. So there's another sort of stipulation to the Kanyon Kidman match at Starrcade. The winner will be the Kidman is putting up his called shot contract. Allow what you want, or Money in the Bank, or anything else. And finally, our last segment, which gets an 89. Fun stuff. So Shane Helms comes out one more time and says, okay, as I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted. I want you, every single godforsaken, pathetic, weird, mutant fan in this audience to think your mind about Rob Van Dam pinning me in a few days at Starrcade. Big pop for that. I want you to think about it and imagine it, because it's not going to happen. You will be disappointed, just like you've likely disappointed every woman you've ever looked at or touched. You'll be disappointed like your family is about you. You'll be disappointed just like WCW will be when they don't get what they want. They'll have to deal with me as your world champion. Cue walk one more time as Van Dam comes up and says, man, Helms, you can talk and talk and talk, but I've bled in this building. I've went to wars in this building. These fans have hated me. They've loved me, but they've always respected me. In a couple days, I'm going to kick your ass and become world champion. And you have to realize nobody respects you. And just as they're head to head, out comes Reno and Cash attacking Van Dam from behind. So Cash hits the quick dead level. Reno hits him with a power bomb, and then Helms stands over RVD one more time as the fans boo and says, "These fans may respect you, but you're sure as hell still a dumbass. Because I'm the world champion, and RVD, and because I'm Shane Helms, and I'm the real fucking show in WCW." That's of course beeped, but we'll be here as one last heat segment before Starrcade as this gets an 89. So that's an actual show. So, Holmes goes to the back, gets booed, and then and this is all post-show stuff. Tolan and Don Marie come out and they just make more fun of the fans for a couple minutes. As Don Marie says, I always hated being here when I was with the Triple Threat. But out of nowhere, Enter Sandman hits to a huge pop. Sandman comes out and the brawl is on. So it's a 59, and then the actual Sandman Tank Tolan match gets a 37 because it's Sandman defeating Tank Tolan in 7 minutes. It's just it's a quasi comedy hardcore match. It's very poor choice for this audience. I wish I could no, not for one night it isn't. But then afterwards, as Tolan gets sent to the outside, then we finish with basically all the actual ECW folks come out to get a pop from the crowd. So, Van Dam, Sandman, Tajiri, Brother Ray, Beulah, Terry Funk, Lance Storm, Mike Awesome, but they all come out as sort of a kayfabe breaking thing, at least for the moment. And that gets a 73. And then overall, the show itself gets an 87. There we go, good stuff. So yeah, that was a fun little thing before the pay-per-view. As it did put over some storylines, but it also did enough of an ECW tribute to get things over. So I think that worked. As this loads up, let's see, any interesting mails? Johnny Ace. I mean, she is going bye-bye. Can't you know that? Jeff, again, you're not wrong, Jeff. Anyway, so NJPW had Dream Win, so let's see if they did anything interesting. Chronic defeated Hugh Morris and Masato Shibata. Big Vito defeated this guy. Kento Mori defeated Roderick Strong in a 60. McGuinness and Pump, yes, that's a tag team, defeated these guys in a 70. Okay, now this is a 6-man match. Mr. Wall Street, Kevin Nash, and Bobby Roode defeated Super J, Rob Rage, and Kitahara in a 56. Fun stuff. Kashin, Kido, and Jado defeated Yoshino, Tokyo, and Silver King in a 74. Ken Shamrock defeated Ogawa, Azuka, and Nakanishi in a 74. Liger defeated Najiro Madusi in an 86. Sure. Sakabura defeated Chris Hero in an 85. Chris Hero's having 85s in New Japan. Okay, sure. And in the main event, Choshu and Nagata defeated Hase and Nishimura in an 80. Interesting. But anyway, and let's see, which it's in independent wrestling. Calgary Bulldogs exist. They beat these guys. And some other stuff happened on the undercard. Anyway, so first, let me go over some stuff before I do the ooh, and Chris Hero sidelined. Okay, he was just... okay, this is hilarious to me. So Chris Hero had a match with Sakuraba, the Crazy Hunter, and he got a severe concussion. Sad for him, but also hilarious. Anyway, sorry. So again, just to go over this one more time. All right. Before we move over, going over other things. Sorry, I just wanted to go over the final pay-per-view lineup for Starrcade. So at least in the stuff that's pre-booked, and then I'll go over the rest of it. Just otherwise. Anyway, main event is of course Shane Helms versus RVD for the world title. We got Sting and Flair versus Morningstar Macias for the tag titles. We have Sean O'Haire versus Chuck Palumbo as natural born enemies face off. We've got a titanic battle between Monty Brown and Bill Goldberg. We've got Kanyon versus Billy Kidman for the called shot. We've got Gail Kim versus Tricia Skye versus Joanie Laurer for the World Women's Championship. We've got Booker T versus Jeff Jarrett in a battle of two guys who just now hate each other after what happened at Mayhem. We've got AJ Styles versus Eddie Guerrero in a battle of the future versus the present. We've got, and we also got a women's elimination match between what was originally going to be Natty Neidhart, Jordan Cole, and Celine Cartier versus Lexi James, Angel Fox, and Lacey Stumis, but Jordan Cole has been taken out, so they'll need a replacement. And we also have the three-man group of Keenan Sharp, Ray LePen, and Tig Tolan, along with Don Marie, taking on Sandman, Brother Ray, and a partner to be named at Starrcade in a six-man street fight. And then finally, we have the Ignition match for the Cruiserweight title involving WCW Cruiserweight Champion Ellis Skipper, Jerry Lynn, Great Suzuki, Akuta Hidaka, Tony Kuzuna, Takemichi Yoku, Austin Aries, Prince Austin, Yang, and finally, the tag team gauntlet match. Hart Legacy, Roman Legion, Storm and Awesome, Jindrak, and Simply Johnny Devine, Reno and Cash, Raiden Chavo, AW, and Noble and Ebony, with the winners getting a tag title shot. So there's our pay-per-view lineup. And then as a final check of the storylines before we go into the pay-per-view, we've got Against the Darkness at an 87. We've got Beautiful Violence at a 58. We've got the Tag feud at a 73. We've got the Hardcore feud at a 90. We've got the Co-GMs at a 76. Oh, that's the thing God damn it. Okay. Well, I totally forgot to do a promo for this. So you probably figured this out by Nitro being the Cruiserweight only show. Revolution is going to be the only show where the women are on. So women's division is on Revolution. Nitro is Cruiserweights. Anyway, Booker T versus Jeff Jarrett's at an 80. Cruiser Stuff's at a 45. The women's feud is at a 65. Masked Empire's at an 85. Goldberg Monty's at an 87. Main Event's at a 75. Okay, I should have probably, oh well, shit happens. Chuck Palumbo, Shawn O'Hare's at a 90. Next Man's Up as at an 88. And AJ Eddie is also at 90. So I'll just have to reheat up Helms and RVD. Hopefully I can just do that. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. So now let's go over what WF did for their pay-per-view and everything else as usual as we head towards the end of the year. Anyway, so WF had Armageddon. So it got a 95 because of course it did. So pre-show was CM Punk defeating Cody Hawkins in squash. Crash Holly defeated Viscera and Grandmaster Sexy in a 61. Sure. We had Terry defeated Shunika, Jamie Keys, and Cherry Slice in a 57. I'm sure it was some sort of random Diva style match because look at those four women. Most of them, yeah. Val Venus defeated Matt Hardy in an 80. Leviathan won the European title, defeated Rikishi in an 80. Raven DDP and Hall defeated Al Snow, Devon Dudley, and Shelton Benjamin in a 78. Billy Gunn defeated Perry Saturn by DQ in a 79. K-Quick drew with Randy Orton in an 87. Interesting. TNA defeated Outcast for the tag titles in a 81. So TNA, or parts of Team Angle, win the tag titles. JBL defeated Christian and Scott Steiner in a triple threat match, retained titles in an 80. In a triple threat tag match, Chris Jericho and Brock Lesnar defeated Big Show and Edge and Vampiro and Kane in a 97. Triple H defeated Taker in a cage match in a 100. And Shawn Michaels defeated Kurt Angle in a 99. Now, if you notice something, yes, you do notice that in Quebec, Chris Benoit, who was the current world champion, was not part of the show. Imagine that happening. Like a major pay-per-view happening in Canada. The world champion is Chris Benoit in 2004, and he's not even on the show. The internet would implode. Well, the internet as it stood in 2004 would implode. Then they had Raw, which honestly didn't have much going on. DDP Raven Steyer defeated Steve Richards, defeated Dudley Benjamin in 78. Taker and Triple H won squashes. Vampiro defeated Val Venus in 80. Brock Lesnar killed Christian in 92. And Angle and Billy Gunn defeated Big Show and Edge in 92. So yeah, was Benoit not even on this? No, he was not. Jesus. Okay. And then on SmackDown, we had Cherry Slice defeat Selena Majors, JBL, Vampiro, Orton, Edge, and Billy Gunn promos, Big Show winning a squash, Chris Jericho winning a squash, Scott Hall, Raven Steiner defeated Randy Orton and the Outcast in 83. Interesting. We had Kane defeat Steve Richards in K-Match at 79, Edge defeat Billy Gunn in the 99, and Triple H and Brock Lesnar defeat Taker and Michaels in a tables match in 100. So yes, world champion still not on the show. Interesting. So as a quick note for our dev feds, we got NWA Wildside. We have Change Profit defeated Matt Cross in 844. We had Kishin Kawabata defeat Kent Cole to return the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title. Sure. Jimmy Rave, Trevor Woods, and Stone Mountain defeated Christian Bullet, Orton, Daz by DQ in a 55. Adam Jones, Akabono and K Grave, so that's an interesting tag team, considering K goes region and Akabono's Akabono. Travis Tomko and John Phoenix won a tag match over Mark Teletek and Tony Jones. Cassie O'Reilly defeated Lazarus. And then in our weekly house show, we had Claudio defeat Tag Team Brits, but he's still on the pre-show, even though he's Claudio. Kenzo Suzuki defeated Matt Cross. Siaki and Rayman defeat Bobby Lashley and Ryan Drago. Tomko, Rhodes, and Stone Mountain won a match. Chance Profit defeated Shannon Ballard. TNT defeated Shane Ballard and Kay Graves. Akabono defeated Jimmy Rave and Lazarus, and there you go. And then for our women's fed, Becky Bayless defeated ODB. Mischief defeated Beth Phoenix. Ariel and non-gay partners defeated Allison Danger and Mega Woman. And Anti-Authority defeated Molly Hasaka and Vanessa Harding in F63. In the main event, Nikki Rocks defeated Annie Social. So there we go. That's that. And then just, let's see here, HWA. Huh. Sorry. I showed you guys this, I remember. So the weekly show had Barry Bradburn, who's a regen, defeated Billy Bax. Jimmy Jacobs defeated John Cena in a tables match. Sure. Andy Douglas defeated Alex Shelley in A53. Russ Haas defeated Corey Castle in a cage match in A47. Ekman Fatu and Gowler defeated Rocky Romero and BJ Whitmer in 55. Ricky Shane Page defeated Logan King by DQ in 51. Chuck Taylor defeated Scott Vick in 53. And Matt Striker defeated Ray Steele to retain the HW heavyweight title. And for OVW, Peggy G2 and Charlie Haas is a tag team, and they won a match. Let's see here. Tony Milo defeated Isaiah in 52. Rob Conway defeated Daniel Cooter. Ricky Constantino defeated Steve Bradley by DQ. Maven Joey Matthews defeated Danny Doring and Trent Baker. And when Spanky retained the tag titles, and Justice and Joey Ryan retained the OVW title. And let's see, Joey Matthews defeated Danny Doring. Rob Conway and Daniel Peter fought again. Homicide's Biggie retained tag titles. Justice retained the title. Remember, Justice is Abyss, for those who don't remember. And then OVW had their show here. So let's see here what of note happened. Mafia defeated Steve Bradley in A56. Riptide defeated Sarah Stock. Brent Breaker defeated Isaiah. Rob Conway defeated Daniel Peter in 57. Rico Constantino and Danny Dore defeated Maven and Joey Matthews in 63. And Homicide and Spanky retained the tag title by DQ. And Justice to beat Joey Ryan. So there we go. So that's where we are at this moment. So what'll happen this week actually is I'll have this show, which will show up when it shows up as usual on Monday. Then there'll be a Starrcade preview. Then I'm going to try to get up a New Japan show. And then Friday will be Starrcade. And then next week will be year-round stuff. So that's it for now. If you enjoyed the show, go to give it a like. Comment below on what you're enjoying and not enjoying. And of course, subscribe to the channel for TEW 2020 content, including this series and my new New Japan 2004 series where we're trying to kill Enochiism before it can destroy the company fully. But that's it for now. Talk to you later, and adios.